Jerry Springer read a name from the card in his hand. The woman on stage froze. Then she bolted from her chair, ran toward Backstage, and never came back. The studio was packed. 300 people on their feet, chanting, "Jerry! Jerry! Jerry!" with that primal energy that made the Jerry Springer show unlike anything else on television. Security guards in black t-shirts stood at strategic positions around the stage, arms crossed, ready for the inevitable chaos. On stage sat two women. Sandra, 32, blonde, trembling with barely contained rage in one of the iconic blue chairs. Across from her sat Maya, 28, dark hair, defiant posture, arms crossed, jaws set. Between them stood Jerry Springer, microphone in hand, that knowing look on his face that said he'd seen this exact setup 1,000 times before. "So Sandra," Jerry said in that calm, almost therapeutic tone he used right before all hell broke loose. "You brought Maya here today because you have something to tell her. Something about her boyfriend Marcus." The audience erupted in anticipatory "Uh-huh." Sandra leaned forward in her chair. "That's right, Jerry. I brought this bleep here because she needs to know the truth about her precious Marcus." Maya shot to her feet. "Oh, here we go. You're just jealous because he chose me over you." Security moved closer. The crowd's volume increased. Jerry stepped between them with practiced ease, one hand raised. Hold on. Sandra, what truth are we talking about?" Sandra stood too, pointing directly at Maya. "The truth that I've been sleeping with Marcus for the past 6 months. The truth that he's been lying to you the whole time. The truth that—" The audience exploded. Maya lunged forward. Security grabbed her arms. The crowd was on its feet, screaming, some cheering, some gasping. Classic Springer chaos in full effect. Jerry raised his hand. The chanting stopped. The entire studio went silent. Jerry turned to the audience, that slight smile playing at his lips. "Now, before we bring Marcus out here, and yes, he's backstage waiting, Sandra, you said there's one more thing Maya needs to know. Something even more important than the affair." Sandra's defiant expression flickered for just a second. Something shifted in her eyes. Jerry caught it. He always caught these moments. 27 years of hosting this show had given him an instinct for when the real story was about to emerge. "Yeah," Sandra said, her voice suddenly quieter. "There's one more thing." "And what's that?" Sandra looked at Maya, then at Jerry, then at the floor. "I need you to bring someone else out first. Before Marcus. There's someone Maya needs to see." Jerry's eyebrow raised slightly. "Someone else? Who?" "Her sister," the audience murmured. Maya's face went pale. "What are you talking about? My sister? I don't have a sister here." "What kind of game?" "You do have a sister here," Sandra interrupted, her voice cracking now. "And before we go any further, before Marcus comes out, before any of this makes sense, Maya needs to see her." Jerry looked at his blue index card, the one the producers had given him before taping. This wasn't on the card. This wasn't in the pre-show brief. He glanced toward the control room, then back at Sandra. "What's her name?" Sandra's hands were shaking now. The audience sensed something different was happening. The energy shifted from chaos to confusion to something else entirely. Anticipation of a kind they couldn't name. "Her name is Lauren," Sandra whispered. "Lauren Hayes." What Jerry didn't know was that Maya hadn't seen her sister in 14 years. What the audience didn't know was that Sandra had spent 3 months tracking Lauren down specifically for this show. And what nobody in the studio could have predicted was what would happen when Jerry read that name out loud. Behind the scenes, Jerry made a decision that no producer had ever seen him make before. Jerry looked at the card again, then at Sandra's face, reading something in her expression that the cameras couldn't capture. In 27 years of hosting, he developed a sixth sense for when chaos was about to transform into something else. This was one of those moments. "Okay," Jerry said slowly. "Let's bring out Lauren." He looked directly at the camera. "Everybody, Please welcome Lauren Hayes. The studio doors opened. A woman in her mid-30s walked onto the stage. Jeans, simple blouse, nervous energy radiating from every step. Brown hair pulled back, hands clasped together, eyes scanning the stage until they landed on Maya. Maya went absolutely rigid in her chair. The woman, Lauren, stopped walking 3 steps onto the stage. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. The audience was completely silent now. Something was happening that transcended the usual Springer formula. Even the veteran audience members could feel it. Lauren? Maya's voice was barely a whisper, barely picked up by the boom microphones. Lauren, what are you? How did you? Lauren took one more step. Tears were streaming down her face. Maya! Oh my God! Maya! Jerry stepped back slightly, giving them space, but keeping his microphone ready. His expression had shifted from his usual knowing smirk to something more guarded, more careful. He sensed this wasn't going where anyone expected. Maya stood slowly from her chair, her earlier defiance completely gone, replaced by something that looked like terror mixed with desperate hope. You! I thought you were dead. They told me you were dead. After you left, after the foster home, they said you were. I'm not dead, Lauren said, her voice breaking. I've been looking for you for 9 years. 9 years, Maya? But you disappeared. You changed your name. You moved. I couldn't find you. Sandra was crying now too, still in her chair, watching this unfold. The affair with Marcus suddenly seemed like the least important thing in the studio. Jerry's mind was racing. This wasn't in the brief. The producers were probably screaming in his earpiece right now, but he muted it 2 minutes ago, another thing he rarely did. Whatever was happening here was real, and he was going to let it play out. Lauren, Jerry said gently, why don't you tell Maya, why you're here today? Lauren wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She looked at Sandra, who nodded encouragingly. Then she looked back at Maya. I'm here because Sandra found me. 3 months ago. She tracked me down through, it doesn't matter how. But she found me. And she told me you were in Chicago. That you were alive. That you were. She paused. That you were with someone named Marcus. Maya's face went even paler. How do you know Marcus? And then Lauren said the 7 words that would change everything. Maya, I need you to sit down. Maya didn't move. Jerry gestured to her chair. Maybe you should. No, Maya said, her voice rising in panic. No, Lauren, just tell me. What about Marcus? How do you know him? What is happening? Lauren looked at Jerry, pleading silently for help. Jerry had interviewed thousands of people in crisis. He knew when someone needed him to take control. He stepped forward, his voice calm and authoritative in that way that could cut through any chaos. Maya, please sit down. Lauren has something important to tell you, and I think you need to hear it sitting down. Maya sat. Her hands were gripping the armrests so tightly her knuckles were white. The audience was transfixed. Security guards had moved closer but not in their usual ready-for-a-fight stance. They looked as confused as everyone else. Lauren took a deep breath. The reason Sandra brought you here today isn't really about the affair. I mean, yes, Sandra's been sleeping with Marcus, and that's terrible, and I'm so sorry. But that's not the real reason. Then what is? Maya's voice was barely holding together. The real reason is because I asked Sandra to do it. I asked her to get you on this show. It was the only way I could find you. The only way I knew you'd be in one place, at one time, where I could see you. The studio was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming. Lauren, Jerry said quietly, why did you need to find Maya so badly? Lauren reached into her pocket and pulled out a photograph. Old, worn at the edges, obviously carried for years. She held it up. The camera zoomed in. It showed 2 young girls, maybe 8 and 6 years old, arms around each other, smiling at the camera. This is us, Lauren said. Foster care. The Hendersons' house. Summer of 1991. Do you remember this day, Maya? Maya was crying now. That was the day before they separated us. That was the last day we were together. That's right. Lauren's voice was shaking. They sent you to one home. They sent me to another. And I spent the next 23 years trying to find you. Because that day, before they took you away, do you remember what you made me promise? Maya covered her face with her hands. Lauren, please don't. You made me promise, Lauren continued, her voice rising with emotion, that no matter what happened, no matter how long it took, I would find you again. You made me promise that sisters stay together, even when the world tries to tear them apart. But this is the moment no one in the studio, and no one watching at home, ever saw coming. Jerry looked down at his blue index card. The producers had written something at the bottom. He'd ignored it earlier. Now he read it for the first time. Final guest, Marcus Hayes. Marcus Hayes. Not Marcus Johnson, as Maya had called him. Hayes. The same last name as Lauren. Jerry's eyes widened slightly, the first crack in his famous composure. He looked at Lauren. Marcus Hayes. Is he your? He's my husband, Lauren said quietly. And Maya, I need you to understand something. Sandra didn't seduce Marcus. I asked her to get close to him. To befriend him. To find out why he was dating you under a fake name. To figure out what he was hiding. Maya shook her head, confused. What? Why would he use a fake name? We've been together for 2 years. He told me he loves me. He wants to marry me. What are you talking about? Sandra stood up now. The defiance was gone, replaced by something that looked like guilt. Maya, I'm sorry. The affair, it wasn't real. Marcus and I never slept together. That was a lie to get you here. But there's something Marcus has been hiding from you. Something he told Lauren he could never tell you himself. Jerry made a decision. He looked toward the backstage entrance. We need to bring Marcus out now. A producer's voice crackled through his earpiece. He'd unmuted it without realizing. Jerry, we don't know if this is safe. We don't know what he's going to do. Jerry looked at the two sisters, at Sandra standing between them, at the audience holding its collective breath. He'd built a career on chaos, but he'd also learned when chaos needed to transform into something else. Bring him out, Jerry said firmly. The studio doors opened. A man in his 40s walked onto the stage. Tall, graying hair, worn face. He wasn't what anyone expected. He looked older, tired, carrying the weight of something heavy. He saw Lauren first. Then Sandra. Then his eyes moved to Maya, and his entire body went rigid. Maya stared at him. Marcus? What? Why do they keep saying Hayes? Your last name is Johnson. You told me your name is Marcus Johnson. What is happening? Marcus looked at Jerry. Can I talk to her? Alone? Just for a minute? No, Jerry said gently but firmly. Whatever you need to say, you say it here. That's how this works. Marcus nodded slowly, accepting it. He turned to Maya, and when he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion Jerry had rarely heard on his stage. Not anger, not defiance, but pure, devastating guilt. My name is Marcus Hayes. I lied about my last name when we met. I lied about a lot of things. But I didn't lie about loving you. Why would you lie about your name? Maya was standing now, moving toward him. Why would you? Because I'm your brother-in-law, Marcus said. The words came out fast, like he'd been holding them for 2 years. I'm married to Lauren. I've been married to her for 6 years. And when Lauren was looking for you, when she finally found a lead that you were in Chicago, I volunteered to find you first. To make sure you were safe. To make sure you were okay before we brought Lauren back into your life. He took a breath. But then I met you. And you were so broken, Maya. So alone. And I thought if I told you the truth right away, that your sister sent me, you'd run. Like you've been running your whole life. So I stayed close. I became your friend. Then more. And I convinced myself I was protecting you, but really I was just a coward who fell in love with his wife's sister and didn't know how to fix it. Maya's face crumbled. She looked at the card Jerry was holding. The name he'd read. Lauren Hayes. The name that made her bolt. But she hadn't run to escape. She'd run backstage to find Marcus. To ask him if it was true. Jerry stepped forward. Maya, you went backstage. Why did you come back? Maya looked at her sister. Because he told me the truth. All of it. And he told me that Lauren never stopped looking. That every year on my birthday, she'd call police stations and hospitals and shelters asking if anyone had seen me. That she hired investigators with money she didn't have. That she never gave up. Lauren walked toward Maya. I promised I'd find you. Sisters stay together. They embraced. The audience exploded, not in chaos, but in raw, unrestrained emotion. Sandra was crying. Security guards wiped their eyes. Even Jerry paused, his hand lowering the microphone. Share and subscribe. So this story will never be forgotten. Jerry's final thought that day was different. He didn't moralize. He simply said, sometimes people lie because they're afraid the truth will drive away the only family they've ever had. Take care of yourselves and each other. The footage never aired. 3 crew members independently confirmed what happened that day. Maya and Lauren reconciled. Marcus and Maya never spoke again. But Lauren keeps that photograph in her wallet. The one of 2 sisters who refused to stay separated.